Okay. So, Rosie, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how you got into this position today to be doing all this amazing work?
Who am I? Who am I? I ask that every morning. I guess the general would be I'm a native to Southern California. My family, my parents immigrated here from Mexico and became citizens. I'm the fifth of six of us. Big family, very loud. Being the fifth of six, I kind of learned to uh, go inward amongst a lot of noise. So I think that that's actually helped me a lot, especially during these times. Um, I'm an empath and highly intuitive. I feel there's so many different ways to describe that, but mostly a frequency keeper. So raising frequencies, I've learned that that's really what it is that I do. That connection to myself and others brought me to realize that a lot of times when I was younger, and I would get this rush of like something dreadful or daunting that would happen, like I'd feel this intense feeling, and there really wasn't anything around that. Now seeing that was earth energy or a place that I was at, and that recognizing that. So that communication with earth definitely has always been there. I prefer to be outdoors and talking to the trees and, just saying hello to plants. And if I bumped into like a branch, I'd always immediately, as the younger, sorry, and then have a conversation. So that just really led to opening up to asking these questions of, well, what does this mean and how is this? And of course, the wonderful, Oracle internet now can, answer a lot of those questions. So that just led me to that curiosity and search of finding out what is it of those who can really feel Earth's energy and tap into that. And geomancy, as soon as I read the word and the definition, as when I read the word and definition for empath and different things, that just click, and it really is like a puzzle piece that came in, and then just diving in. So that's how I'm here.
Fantastic, excellent. Okay, so you as an empath, you tend to be really sort of intuitively following the flow of the situation that you find yourself in, don't you? Does dowsing play a part of that?
Especially if it's something that's I'm not quite sure what it is, like I don't immediately get a connection of, okay, this is what I'm reading. It helps me to calm that part of trying to figure it out. Like, our brains are always trying to figure out, what does this mean? And so now, instead of, if I get a feeling or a hit or just any connection to anything, instead of asking, what is this supposed to mean? Like, oh, what does that mean? Now it's more of, I wonder what that means. And sitting and doing practices like dowsing helps to just calm that, so that, well, we'll see. And then the answer will appear. And it's always, so it helps to keep me grounded and clear in being able to get the next direction of where I need to, whatever it is that I'm working on.
So most house healers kind of work with the house healing process and other healing modalities. So you've been working for some years with individuals as more of a sort of empath life coach, is that right?
Yeah. It's actually another thing, that learning about my ancestry and lineage and kind of reconnecting that, which I think is the most powerful way to really find out what your superpower is, what your gifts are, is to just, where are you and what is your ancestry connection. So in Mexico, the curanderas, my great grandmother was one, and it's called platicas, which is conversation. And when you're a frequency keeper, you can clear energy by just holding space. So as I work with that and help to kind of see what it is that they're, the deeper root of what it is that they're talking about or what they're feeling. And then, and that's how I'll use it. So it's a bit more shamanic in that sense. And I'll use different tools or modalities, but it's always directed by what I believe that person needs. So it's different all the time, but it's definitely a combination and multi-layered.
Right, interesting stuff. So in terms of the actual house healing, the house healing work, because you and I have worked together for some time in a sort of a mentoring capacity, and I loosely trained you in a process. You haven't done a huge amount in what I would call a house healing process per se, but tell me a little bit about the sort of stuff that you have worked on in terms of houses and people and situations.
I know we had this, that like I was very resistant to that way because it's very systematic, and I oftentimes would just kind of go in and tap in and feel it. But what I found is when I actually sat and learned your way and I worked through that resistance, that really the resistance was just that it helped me to, that it really wasn't the resistance of doing that process, but I think it was more of like, is this really what I'm doing? There's sometimes some responsibility in that, in owning your gift. Once I actually, I mean, it really supercharged me, and it helped me to really see that being able to put things in order systematically and seeing like what it is that I'm asking, what it is that I'm looking for. I did that in other ways, but I didn't really do that in the sense of house healing until now. So I will now, not just with my, with an individual, you kind of ask permission, right? When they book with you, they're allowing you to kind of connect. So now when I sit with a house, I believe I always asked permission just by feeling, but now it's formal, and having that relationship then with the home or the land that the home's on, it really helped to elevate it, because I felt I now get a different answer because it was like a recognition and a respect to that house, that property. And so then the answers came a lot easier. So there you go.
Excellent.
Who knew?
Who knew? Yeah, who would have thought? Yeah, so you just, you think that there was probably some reason why people have been doing it for thousands of years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So is there one particular example that you would want to share or anything, or is there any observations that you had from any particular example that you've worked on?
But the one that we worked on was somebody was trying to sell their house, and it was on the market for a while. That one was really beautiful because I also saw that I like to look at the house numbers. So the connection of numerology there. I like to look at the directions. I like to feel, I really felt into the land around and possibly what was supporting that, the deeper into the land. So, and then oftentimes I think it's underestimated that where we are, we're in relation to. So we also bring whatever energy into that house kind of awakens or opens up. It's not something to be afraid of. And that the fear of something new, I know I have felt that before, is usually what then creates more intense energy. Like everything's feeding off of you. So then, it's like if somebody's afraid of something, that kind of makes everybody jittery. So I think that was helpful.
Well, what is nice about when you do access a property and work with somebody is that actually you're the feedback, the results that you give them is very comprehensive, and it's very accessible as well. And I'm also thinking here about a particular client that you worked on recently.
Yeah.
Right. So that lady that was in a very poor state of health, the feedback that you gave her on video was tremendously supportive and very, very positive for her, and incredibly well received. So yeah, you're right. I mean, people in the network, you know, the house healers that I train, I don't expect them to all be working in exactly the same fashion by any means. That's exactly the point, is that everybody is able to express their own ways of working. You know, that's evident by the variety of people that are in the network. It's terrific. I suppose what I would ask is there a sort of a particular aspect or a particular type of issue that you've encountered over the years that you particularly like working with, or you see as being common to, you know, the situation that you find yourself in?
What I have found is that those that I work with are also highly intuitive and empathic, but don't know, or don't remember, you know, or even don't even know how to use it. Yeah. So that's kind of my entry point. And first I start with like this house, that they need to kind of clear this one, and then they can engage, because I can go in and help raise frequency and clear, or let them know where there might be something that they can work on. For instance, like in feng shui, you know, you can shift the energy with moving things, but also if the energy isn't shifted after that, it's kind of like if somebody comes in and declutters a house, and then you go back to like accumulating things, it's just going to be the same over and over. So that's what I find, is that oftentimes highly sensitives and empaths don't realize that, because I think it's more of who I work with is those who might feel not just, okay, there's something here, but they might see like shadows, or what they feel are entities or spirits, and they're just not sure, but they're actually tapping into those things. So I suppose it starts getting into a little more mediumship with that, and that's who I find that I'm called, who's called to work with me, I should say.
Yeah, and the nice thing about that, and the way you described that, is that actually you are typifying what I think is really, really important, which is that we're not just going in and clearing something for somebody. Mm-hmm. We're actually helping them step into their power and understand more about themselves, aren't they? Do you want to? That's right. Tell me a bit about that.
It's not that service where it's just, well, come in and clear it, and then, and then that's it. I can go back to just nothing. But I think it does help people awaken when they recognize this is something that actually can be done, and it can be supported, because it's wherever we are, we were invited, and we have a relationship with the house and the land, wherever or the office or whatever. There was this feeling that like, this feels right, and we engaged in that,
You're basically saying the importance of assisting the people to waken, those that are on that verge, on that cusp of waking up, as they say. That's really part of your role, is to help them realize their own latent power that they hadn't even thought about sometimes. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah, because I think people aren't curious about this stuff unless there was something there that they felt.
No, absolutely. And usually it's the management upstairs kind of tapping them on the shoulder, putting something in, or that scenario that something occurs in the house. The person gets worried about it, and therefore calls in a house healer. So clearly, from what you're saying, the self-development work that you do is really integral to the work that you do. As you've been able to develop and do more work on yourself, has it really changed your view of life drastically, sort of discovering yourself?
Yeah, and recognizing that never ends. Every day we wake up is not just an opportunity to learn something new about, you know, the world, but first about yourself and your and my interaction with the world and my environment, and that I have complete control. That's something that through really learning to kind of, first I think the temptation is for me was learning all these things. I wanted to know everything, like, oh, this too and this too, and just gather. But we can only hold so much, right? You know, and I think the beauty of really kind of peeling away and then seeing like, oh, that fits in here because it's all connected to me. So I think the more I would see the different modalities and different things that I would learn in trainings and things I was into, they weren't for naught. Like I learned them because they're all aspects part of me, and I use different ones how needed now. But I think the most thing that's really helped, and I know you've seen my journey of just, I'm not sure, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to present this? And it's not about it's not even what I call it or what I do. It's who I am doing it will show.
Yeah.
All this opening up has really interestingly helped ground me more so, and to really know who I am and the gifts that I have has helped me to see that that's actually also a gift that I have, is that I see potential in all things and bring that out. And I do that in a home, in the land, in a person that I'm working with. So learning more about myself has helped me to learn what gifts I have to offer for others and how I serve.
What would you say to somebody that was maybe thinking about joining it, or joining the training course and becoming a part of this embryonic network that we have?
I think even if somebody felt like, well, I don't think I want to do that, like I don't think I want to do that as a profession, that it will help you to understand the relationship first you have with your house, and that's your sanctuary, and then your office or wherever you are, and then to be able to kind of engage in wherever you are, you kind of carry also this house. So it's going to be beneficial no matter what, and it's going to help you learn how to have relationships with environment wherever you are, but in a way that is empowering, not just, I think, you know, you can meditate and sit and do that on your own. You don't need any kind of training, but it does help to have someone like you who's also has mentors who've been doing it for so long. Those kind of like lineages, that's really what we lost, is a lot of that passed down teachings from teacher to student. And so I think it is important to be part of these kind of communities and networks. And then you meet other people and you realize like, oh, okay, this is cool. And then you see how somebody else does it, which then becomes even more exciting, because you see that it's not just one way. You can all learn that, but then it just keeps layering on. So even the relationship that you have with others, to see that there's a kinship and that we are not alone. We're not the only ones responsible to heal the planet, you know, or to walk in and do that, because that can feel really daunting, you know, for those called to want to help in any way. But that, you know, that you realize like we're all like just these little lights all over the planet, and that's really important, I think, to have a network.
Excellent. I think that's a great summary. That's lovely. That's a great point to finish on. So thank you very much, Steve. Thank you. That was lovely. That's great.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim.